Hola, mis amigos. ¿Cómo estás? I hope you got to enjoy that gorgeous weather yesterday. I know that I sat outside for an hour and graded paper, so that was nice just to get some fresh air. So, today is going to be pretty simple. All we're going to ask you to do is to reread the two myths. And since they're so short, I'm going to say that I need you to do that. That's not an option today. I need you to reread the two passages from yesterday, the three golden apples and um, the story from Wait. And then you're going to have a Google form to complete. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have the passages open and the Google form open so you can refer back to the passages as you may need to. Okay, so there's the two passages, and I will make sure they are attached again in this assignment today so that they are nice and easy to find and you can use those to help you take the assessment. Now, when you take this, well, I shouldn't call it an assessment. When you do this Google form, keep those signposts in mind that we talked about yesterday, the aha moments, even like the tough questions, the contrast, contradiction, so forth and so on, and use the text to help you answer the questions. Make sure you double check, okay? Don't just rush through it. Like, check and make sure that you are answering it to the best of your ability and correctly, okay? This is what the Google form looks like. There's all kinds of questions. There's vocabulary questions, there's comprehension questions, there's theme questions, there's all kinds of good stuff on there. So that is it for today. Now, here's what I want to say. You can stop the video in just a second and go take the Google form quiz and be done with it. Or you can stay here and I will run through the questions with you. Now, I'm not going to give you the answers, but I can at least run through them with you and make sure you understand exactly what you need to answer on those questions. So at this point, you're either going to stop the video or you're going to continue on with me. Okay. So the first question is a vocabulary question. And it says, read the sentence from passage 1. And besides, I have no fancy for burdening myself with the sky just now. What is the meaning of the word fancy as it's used in this paragraph? So again, what I would do is take these words and plug them in here as a replacement, right? And besides, I have no ability for burdening myself. I have no desire to burden myself. I have no experience, or I have no fear. Which one makes the most sense? Meaning that, he's saying, I don't really have any fancy for holding that sky right now. Okay. Hopefully that will help. The next one has an excerpt from the passage, and we are supposed to figure out, what does this excerpt reveal about Atlas? Okay. So it says, we will see about that one of these days, answered the giant. At all events, you ought not to complain if you have to bear it in the next 100 years, or perhaps the next 1,000. I bore it a while longer in spite of the backache. So, what does this reveal about Atlas? Is he encouraged by Hercules' struggle? Does he resent the fact that he had to hold the sky for so long? Or does he think Hercules is the one that's deserving of the punishment? When he's talking about this, like, you shouldn't complain if you have to bear it for the next 100 years, because I bore it a whole lot longer than that, even though it hurt my back, right? That's what he's trying to say. So, what does this reveal about Atlas? Which one of those do you think makes the most sense? The next one is another vocabulary. We're trying to figure out what thick witted means. Read the sentence from passage 1. Ah, the thick witted old rogue of a giant. What is the meaning of the phrase thick witted as it is used in this sentence? And this is one of those times where you may need to actually go back into the text to see in passage 1, paragraph 9, what's happening in that part, because this sentence alone isn't a whole lot of a clue. But are we trying to call this giant admirable and kind, young and inexperienced, or slow to understand when we talk about thick-witted? Again, unfortunately, this is one where you can't just replace, because you could say, Ah, the admirable and kind old rogue of a giant. Ah, the young and inexperienced old rogue of a giant. Or ah, the slow to understand old rogue of a giant. It doesn't really help. So again, going back into paragraph 9 and seeing what was happening at that time, if you called somebody thick-witted like they do in this story, what would that mean? You're going to need to go back in there to see what would make the most sense. This one, which sentence from passage 1 shows why Atlas offers to take the apples to the king? Okay, so the key is shows why Atlas offers. So, why does he offer to take the apples? Is it, I took the finest that grew on the tree, I assure you? Is it, that's no more fair and I'll do it? Or is it, I have no idea of spending another 1,000 years as I spent the last? So they're asking, which of those shows you why he offered to take the apples to the king himself? Atlas is like, oh, I'll do it. I'll take the apples to the king. So which one shows why he does that? Is it because he took the finest ones that grew on the tree? Is it because that's no more than fair, so I'll do it? Or is it, I have no idea of spending another 1,000 years as I spent the last? Okay, now we're going to talk about the theme of passage 1. So think about what we're supposed to learn, the message or the takeaway. Is it that opportunities can be missed if one avoids a challenge? Is it pursuing selfish interests can cause others hardship? Or is it being helpful to others can be its own reward? Okay. I think these make pretty good sense. Hardship, would be like, would cause them issues, would cause their life to be hard. That's what hardship means. Okay. That might help you a little bit. And then once you choose your theme, you've got to choose a part of the passage that really supports your theme very well. Okay. So we have, yes, and the dragon with 100 heads is a sight worth any man seeing. Think about, does that one, a dragon with 100 heads is a sight worth any man seeing? Does that match any of these? How about, and now, as I have a long way to go and am rather in haste, and as my king, my cousin, is anxious to receive the golden apples, will you be kind enough to take the sky off of my shoulder again? Okay. Then, after 1,000 years, if I happen to feel in the mood, we may possibly shift about again. So, this one he's saying, okay, we talked about the dragon one. This one he's saying, I have a long way to go and I'm still kind of in a hurry, and my cousin wants these golden apples. So, can you just take this guy for me and I'll go take them to him? Okay. And then this one, he's saying, well, then, after another 1,000 years, if I feel like it, maybe we can trade places again. It's kind of what that one's saying. So maybe that'll help you to kind of pin this down a little bit with which theme you think it is and which one matches. Okay, now read the sentence from passage 2. Since you ask, I'd like a pad for my head. Take the weight off. How does this dialogue lead to Atlas's decision to take the universe from Heracles? So, dialogue is talking. That's all it means. So, this is talking, right? Since you ask, I'd like a pad for my head. Take the weight off. That's Heracles talking to Atlas. So, is it that Atlas feels ashamed for tricking Heracles and agrees to take back the weight? Is it that Atlas relates with Heracles' hardship and wants to help him relieve his suffering? Or is it that Atlas finds that Heracles is willing to hold up the sky and decides to exchange duties? Which one talks about this? Since you ask, I'd like a pad for my head. Take the weight off. And then Atlas decides to take the universe from Heracles. So, how does this dialogue lead to him actually taking it away? How does Atlas feel? Is he ashamed for tricking him? Does he understand how hard this has been for Heracles and wants to help him? Or is it that he finds him holding up the sky and decides to exchange with him? Like, Heracles is willing to hold up the sky, so he decides, oh, we'll switch spots. Okay? We're almost done, I promise. Read this sentence from passage 2. Slowly, so as not to spill one drop of milk, Atlas lowered the cosmos back onto his shoulders and bent himself under the burden. How does the author's use of the phrase, so as not to spill one drop of milk, affect the story? Does it reveal Atlas's defiance? And if you're defiant, it means you go against the rules. You don't do what you're supposed to do. Okay, so does that show Atlas's defiance? Does it illustrate his devotion to the universe, his love to the universe? Or does it show his misunderstanding of the situation? So look at it again slowly so as not to spill one drop of milk. Atlas lowered the cosmos back onto his shoulders and bent himself under the burden. So which of those does that show? Alrighty, in passage 2, Atlas has a stronger sense of duty and responsibility than in passage 1. Select a detail from passage 2 that supports the idea. So what they're saying is in the second passage, Atlas feels a much stronger responsibility than he does in passage 1. So which detail shows that is what we want to come across. So the first one is, you aren't getting tired, are you? Said Atlas. And remember, these are all from passage 2, where he's supposed to have a stronger sense of responsibility. Second one, if he made a fuss, Atlas could just walk away. Or, he would gladly have dashed the world to pieces if that would have freed him. He saw now that Atlas could do just that, but did not, and he respected him, but would not help him. Which one shows that Atlas has a stronger sense of duty and responsibility in this passage than he did in passage 1? So look and see which one shows a really strong sense of either duty or responsibility, because that's what we're trying to determine. Okay. That's it. All right. I hope that helped a little bit. Kind of walking through it together. Of course, you are more than welcome to come to office hours with me, and I will walk you through this and help you a little bit more if I can. But see how you do. And then in class tomorrow, we're going to kind of go over some of the answers that seem to be a little more tricky, and we'll help you with those. Okay? Have a great day, guys. See you tomorrow.